Ancient to the modern world, how did the spread of Christianity and Islam impact Europe? Roman Empire was divided in 395 CE. Rome had ruled majority of the ancient world with unity and security for 400 years, but the Western Empire fell to Germanic invaders in 476 CE. Final fall came with the defeat of Rome's last emperor, Romulus Augustulus, who died in 476 CE. A new European world, known as the medieval period or Middle Ages, 500 CE, 1500 CE, emerged from the chaos and confusion that came with the defeat of Roman power, the Arab people and their Islamic civilization, and European descendants of Germanic tribes shaped this period of history. This period was an era of great change that eventually brought contact, trade, and the exchange of goods and ideas between Eastern and Western worlds. The Middle Ages ended with the rise of the Renaissance movement. Christianity became Europe's cultural foundation after Rome's fall, 4th century CE under Constantine. Germanic tribes converted to Christianity after conquering Roman lands. Monasteries became centers of learning, preserving literacy and knowledge. Papal power grew. The Pope ruled the Papal States and influenced kings. Christianity unified diverse kingdoms under one faith. Islam, meaning submission or surrender, emerged in the 7th century CE under Prophet Muhammad. Islamic conquests spread quickly across the Middle East, North Africa, and into Spain. As many Arabs were nomads who traditionally traveled for trade and to spread the teachings of the Quran, Islam became a dynamic cultural force. Trade and knowledge flourished. Muslim armies invaded Syria and Iraq in 633 CE, and the empire stretched from India to Spain by 750 CE. The Islamic capital was established in Baghdad, 762 BC, which became an important center of learning, transporting exotic goods, for example gold, ivory, furs, along established international trade routes that stretched from Morocco to India. Islam, settlers adapted to the culture and knowledge of the conquered peoples, allowing Christians to continue following their similarly monotheistic faith. There was an expectation that they obeyed Islamic law and paid a special tax, rather than simply forcing Islamic conversion. Christianity and Islam clashed during the Crusades, 1095–1200s. Contact with Islamic civilization brought new goods, for example, spices, fabrics, and ideas, medicine, science, maths, to Europe. Long-term effect: increased cultural exchange and later Renaissance developments. How did feudalism shape the medieval age? Most of Europe and parts of Asia were politically, socially, and economically organized into the feudal system, governed the power and economic structures between the different classes in medieval society. Established relationship between the crown and the church. Although ambiguous, historians usually identify the emergence of the European feudal system following the defeat of Norman King William the Conqueror I against the Anglo-Saxons in 1066–1. What was the most important problem that William needed to solve after his invasion of Britain? After his victory at the Battle of Hastings in 1066, William the Conqueror faced the significant challenge of consolidating his control over England. Despite his coronation, many Anglo-Saxons resisted Norman rule. William had to suppress multiple rebellions, such as those led by Edgar the Atheling and the Revolt of the Earls. To establish authority, he built castles across the country, redistributed land to Norman nobles, and implemented policies to integrate Norman governance, ensuring loyalty and reducing the risk of further uprisings. 2. Explain the role of the following in the feudal hierarchy. A. King. The king was at the top of the feudal system, owning all the land in the kingdom. He granted portions of land, known as fiefs, to his most trusted nobles in exchange for their loyalty, military service, and support. B. Nobility. Nobles or lords were granted land by the king and held significant power within their territories. They managed these lands, provided military support to the king, and had authority over the peasants working on their estates. C. Knights. Knights were vassals to the nobles and were granted smaller parcels of land in return for their military service. They protected the land and its inhabitants, upheld the law, and could be called upon to fight for their lord or king. D. Peasants. Peasants, including serfs, were at the bottom of the feudal hierarchy. They worked the land to produce food and goods, which supported the entire feudal system. In return, they received protection and a place to live, though they had limited rights and freedoms.